Hey everybody, it's the Johnny and Gene Show. We're back for another episode. Co-host Felix Levine is away in prison. He'll be out shortly. And
we rubbed off on him, right?
Yeah, we changed our lives. He also changed the other way. He quit college and he's
running the streets now.
now he'll be back in a couple of weeks. He's away at school. So if the people are interested in where Felix is, he will be back in a couple of weeks. So another week. So we're going to do a special episode today about the questions everybody sending us. There's so many questions we don't have the time to answer all of them, obviously, on the air. And Gene will kick it off, and we'll try to answer some of your questions you're all asking us.
Okay, so we're going to start it off with, I seen a good one here. Hold on. Okay, so this is from Michael Staffer. Johnny, what was your relationship with the Gotti family? Mike from Staten Island.
I looked at, growing up with your uncle, Fat Andy Ruggiano. I grew up with Lucky Luciano's cousin, who was also a made guy. These guys were the hierarchy of the Gambino family and the legendary gangsters from the Gambino family, with Murder Inc. and Albert Anastasia. Later, after his uncle went to prison, I started with the Gottis, and I looked at Gotti Sr. as like a father figure to me. I looked up to him, and I would die for him. And I think that I tried anything I could, risk my life for him. And then, unfortunately, things changed with Gotti Jr. going into as an informant when I was in Brazil on the run, and I left my family. And after that, it's history. There was nothing left for me with the Gotti family once he went to talk to the FBI.
Right. Okay. Also, Mike from Staten Island has another one. I'm going to answer this. He said, Gene, what was your role in the Mafia? My role in the Mafia basically was I collected all the deadbeat money. I did all the dirty work. Anyone needed to be beat up, shot, if they needed to be killed, which, they weren't ordering murders, but if they did, that was my department. I took care of all the violence. If anything needed to be handled as far as, like I said, violence, that's what I did. For Vinny Asaro or Ronnie Gialonzo or any Bonanno guy that really needed me, I was there for in that way. So I was basically known as the enforcer, the muscle, the guy the guy you didn't want to see, basically. And that was my role. Hold on. Got another one. Okay. Johnny, do you guys experience any PTSD from your past experience? Jacob Kovaler.
So I've just done some recent podcasts with Brian Basho, who's a Marine vet. I did one with Steve just recently to air, who's a Navy SEAL vet. And on the show we discussed PTSD. Yes, I was diagnosed with it. I think anybody that sees action the way I did, the way these guys did, especially those guys in the armed forces, I think we all deal with it somewhat. To what extent and how to control it is some of the things that we all talk about, and that's why I got so much praise for the veterans of the forces.
Here's a good one. Gene, talk a little bit about your steroid use and as far as did that add to your aggression? It did. I was already chemically imbalanced. They told me before I did steroids, it's going to make you more crazier. I didn't listen. I started doing a lot of steroids, and it made me a lot more aggressive, a lot more violent. I can give you a brief story. One time, I was at Dunkin' Donuts, and I was all juiced up, and honestly, it's a messed up story. A kid was walking past me. He kind of grazed my arm, bumped into me. My brain got all twisted. I waited for him to come out of Dunkin' Donuts, and I blasted him in his face. I actually almost blinded him in his eye for basically no reason, just for me being all steroided up, and, it gets you so...
Get you hyped up.
And, it's a bad story. I almost blinded the kid in his eye just for him bumping into me and me being all bugged down, steroids and everything. I actually waited for him to come out, and I hurt him bad. And yes, it did make me a lot more crazy and wild. Don't do it. Okay. What's one thing you guys appreciate more in life now that you did before? From Simi.
You want to answer that, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
I think once you lose your freedom, and anybody that's lost their freedom, and especially if you spend an extended time in jail, you start to appreciate everything. Food tastes better. Going to the beach, just walking with your girl and laying in a bed. You start really understanding when you lose freedom for extended periods of time, how much you take for granted life, and you only have one life. And as the years pass you, like it happened to me, you know, you go away, young guy, come back an older guy. You just really understand, and you try to teach the younger guys that it's just not worth the money or anything else or your life for a couple of bucks, that eventually you're going to be put down, whether killed or in prison. And that freedom in those years, you can't get it back.
Right. What he said is so true. And also, like, when you're doing time and you look out that window and you see the sky, the trees, you just think, you're always constantly thinking about the outside. You know, you miss the little things. I go into a shower without wearing boxer shorts and shower slippers, you know, just not waking up on a schedule, do this, to being told what to do. It's so many things like that. The little things you will miss so much. A lot of guys that, you know, lifers that I was with, and a lot of lifers I would talk to say, man, I just want to walk in the park, man. I just want to, you know, little things you would understand. That's why we try to tell you to stay out of jail, and this street shit is not worth it. Okay. Maybe you guys can cover right now. Here we go. When you guys gonna have a sit? Okay. This is a funny one. Okay, John. When are you gonna have a sit down with John Jr.?
I gotta laugh.
Well,
I don't even like talking about this guy. He's not a gangster. His father was a gangster, and
well, he'll come with Navy SEALs, his security team.
And, you know, let's go to a real question. With gangsters, so.
Okay, yeah. When you look, okay. Here's a good one. Johnny, do you feel that Joe Watts was one of the most feared associates?
You know, for the guys that I have talked about this over and over about Joe Watts or myself or other guys, you know, forget about the word associate. You don't understand the intricacies of the Mafia. He was looked upon as a boss, captain, and besides that, respected by anybody from the street. People's street cred comes from your ability of earning, your ability as a tough guy, how you carry yourself, how you dress, your swagger, and Joe's on the top of the chain of any gangster in the history of any mob world or any family. So anybody that doesn't know that about Joe, if you hear something different, then you didn't know the man. He's a slick guy.
Okay, we have a question from Gustav. I would like to know about what the Mafia is today. I can answer that for you. The Mafia today is watered down. I mean, I'm not gonna. Obviously, things can still happen. All it takes is you're always an order away from dying or being beat up or something. But a lot of the higher ups are scared to, you know, call upon these orders. From what I'm hearing now, modern day, you're not even allowed to order a murder no more. So it's not the same as his era. You know, it's kind of like basically money now. Sports, loans. That's the bread and butter. That's what's really going on. They straighten out anybody. You know, they're making bookmakers, which bookmakers never got straightened out. They're just, you know, it's not the same anymore. It's basically like a fraternity.
Well, if you're a knockaround guy and your boss is giving you an order, the problem is all the bosses are flipping. And I've went through the list of all the bosses that are flipping. Guys like Gotti Jr., you can't make excuses. You went in, you're an informant, you sat down with the feds. Joe Messina, he's wearing a wife from the Bonanno family. Al Diaco, boss of the Lucchese family. Ralph Natale, Philadelphia. Gas pipe also with the Lucchese family. He went in. So these guys are going in. Everybody's giving it up. So it's very hard to take an order from somebody these days because you don't know when are they going to flip on you. And it's coming from the bosses. It's not coming from below like before.
Right. Here's one from Nick Cuzzy. Do you think if you had bosses like Carlo Gambino today, the Mafia today would be stronger?
What I think about bosses like Carlo Gambino, obviously, and Neil Della Croce, and guys like Roy DeMeo, and guys like modern-day Johnny Koenig, these guys are serious. They're gangsters, real gangsters, and there's names out there like those guys, and we can list them. Those were real gangsters, old-school kind of guys, but the law has changed. So with the law changing, it just doesn't exist. And what they do is they keep thinking that numbers will bring strength, and that's not the case. So when you're making 50 guys that don't deserve to get made, you should make 3 or 4 instead, and keep the old heritage of you got to
Right.
be a serious gangster to be straightened out in this life.
Right, and I also want to say, because I know this, I grew up around it. Being straightened out back in the day was very hard. It wasn't like it is today, where it's like, oh, go do something. Yeah, you're a guy now. Back then, it was such an honor, a privilege to even to be thought of. I mean, you had to do so much just to even get proposed, or anything. They only open the books every 3-4 years. Sometimes they close the books. It was a totally different ball game back then. It's going back to my cousin's era and my Uncle Andy. It was just an honor and privilege. Where nowadays it's nothing. They're straightening guys out that have no business even in the life, that never did anything in their lives, just pay. So in the Don Carlo era, if you were around that era and you were in the Mafia, you were a gangster. That's what it was.
Yeah, you didn't get to become a capo regime for because you're spoiled, and it just doesn't happen.
And by the way, nobody says that from the 90s on. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. Let's see. Kelly Campolo. Okay. Gene, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Hopefully in Boca Raton, living on the water. I don't know. I can't answer that, but I take it day by day. Hopefully, my dream is to own a beautiful home and just have a family and live a regular life. I'm hoping for it, I'm trying. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Man, I enjoy life right now, so it doesn't matter to me where I am in 5 years, as long as I'm healthy, my kids are healthy, and that's all I care about these days.
Yeah, all right, so I have to get to this question. I mean, I have to. Do you guys have plans to have Mike Francis on the show?
Me personally, I'd love to have him sit across from me and tell me what he feels is a gangster and what's the qualifications, the understanding of the street, how it works, what do you believe is a real gangster. And I'd really like to have him here because I want to hear him talk to me face to face with some of the side comments. And, listen, nobody knows the street better than me. I was raised in it since I'm a kid. So sometimes in this world, people talk indirective and back around end, and we call Machiavelli nonsense. So I'm just curious how he would like to speak in front of a guy like me, really, and see what the way he speaks and carries himself then.
Right, and also, we want to explain to people, we're not trying to get views off him. We don't need him to get views. We have our own thing going. We're blowing up like you can't imagine. My whole thing is this. I know a street guy. I could see him from a mile away. He's not a street guy. He's a privileged gangster. That's what he was. If he was just come out and say that and just, tell him what he really was. He never held a gun. He never did no violent crimes. He never sat on nobody. He never did stick-ups. He never did things that you had to do. Not being thugs. That's what you had to do in the capo regime era. You had to put work in. Because his father was Sonny Francis, he didn't have to do that. That was my whole point. Like if my Uncle Andy was alive when I was in the life, of course, I'd be a privileged gangster too. But he wasn't. He died in 99. I didn't start my mob career to 2003, 2004. I had to prove it. I had to do it myself. I had to show them that I was capable. So that's my whole thing with him. It's not like we're attacking him or trying to get street cred or whatever he calls it off him, because we don't need that.
Well,
between me and him, we got a combine of 80 shootings. So I don't think we need anything from you. So all I'm trying to explain about that is we would love to have him on, because I would love to have a real conversation with him. He's actually a pretty intelligent guy and everything. He was a money maker, not what he says, but we would love to have him on and just sit with him and clear the air. I would love that.
Yeah, I don't got any personal dislike for him, actually. I mean, I just think that, listen, you're going to get a respect level. If you're an athlete and you jump in the ring and you're a boxer, another fighter's going to respect you for being a fighter. But if you're the commentator talking about a boxer, obviously the boxer's not going to have the same respect for you. So it's the same thing. I mean, Gotti Sr., when you're talking about Gotti, he was a gangster. So Gotti himself despised these kind of guys because he felt they didn't belong on the street. They were just rich kids that didn't know what it was to come from the streets and the poverty that we came from. So I understand that belief. I just don't like the back door talking. I like to talk straight and
Right.
he's just not a street guy. I mean, that's it. Maybe articulate, like I always say, and he
Well,
comes,
he's a
comes from a
smart
money
businessman.
family, but
Yeah.
that's about it.
Right. He's a businessman. He's a pudgy. He's
You know,
he's those money guys. They just pay their way. That's
Well, you
all.
want to talk about gangsters, and for people
Right.
that understand, you got to get praised, and we're not trying to praise this life, but the guys that were in it that were tough guys were legitimate gangsters. I've said it over and over again. Joe Watts and Angelo Ruggiero, and Roy DeMeo, and Neil Dellacroce, and Gas Pipe when he was out on the street. I mean, these guys are serious gangsters. This guy can't sit in that kind of company. This is a guy that you send out and tell him, "Hey, go run my company for me and bring me envelopes." So that's what he's capable of, and
Right.
and that's what we respect as
And-
being gangsters.
Right. And I'm not trying to glorify what I've done in my life. I'm just saying what I used to do. I was robbing guys like him, cap-ins like that with no balls that really got all kinds of money. Those are my victims. Anyone knows me on a bull crap. I was robbing skippers, wise guys, everything, guys just like him. That's all I'm saying. He would have been one of my targets back in the day, but not anymore. I'm a good person now. I'm just saying my old self. Reformed now. But my old self, he would be tied up once a week, robbed, and I would tell him it's me. Coming every time. This is a question from Pierce Rovine. Are you guys getting 6ix9ine on Tekashi?
Hey, P.S., I feel like I know you because you write me all the time. We talk constantly.
Yeah.
Actually, I was in the studio at Bravo Studios, and I tried to speak to him, try to get him to come in. His people said when I was on the set, he would come over, knock on the door, and I went back, and he was on the set. So I've been trying to reach out to him, and I want to see if he'll come on. Who knows? We'd like to get him on. It'd be interesting to see what he says after we had Snow Billy on. So
Right.
I'm curious myself to see what he had to say, and I just recently told Fat Man Scoop the same thing. We talked about it, and it'd be a good show.
I actually I never really watched his interviews, but I watched his latest one he did on the show, and I like the kid now. I really do now. He's actually a right kid. He was explaining everything and saying why he did what he did and wanted to understand. They were abusing this kid, So I'm dying to have this kid on and really talk with him. He's actually not what everyone says he is. He ain't really an asshole like everyone says. He actually, when he had the interview, he was trying to explain his side of the story.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you something, and I don't know him either. When he came in, he waved, said hello. I said hello by wave, but I was actually filming. But Snow Billy did say, and Judah said, these guys did say he's not a bad kid.
Nah,
and
he don't seem like
so
a
I
bad
don't
kid.
know, and Snow's not, running up on him like that, talking down about him. He just said he felt bad for him. He got involved in a life he shouldn't have. So I'm just curious what he says too. I'm not going to prejudge him. He's a young guy, so let's give him a second chance at life. And guys hate him, don't hate him. That's not our place to step in that part of the business. It didn't involve our organization, so I don't know enough about it to know exactly what happened. So I'm not going to judge anybody on that.
This is a question from Emery. How are you so brave, never afraid to speak your mind, and never back down? Both of us, yeah.
Go ahead, give him a shot first.
Honestly, like I said, a lot of people say, "Oh, he's boosting, he's bragging." I never cared. I mean, I always had a big set on me. I didn't care. I was always capable and willing, and I feel like just because I went bad doesn't make me the same person. I mean, I'm not saying I'm violent. I don't look for it. I used to look for it. I don't look for it no more. But the bad guys know who was the bad guy, and if you're gonna, come at me and do these things to me, I'm not gonna just let you abuse me, obviously. But I don't live that life no more. But that's just the way I am. That's who I am. I don't back down from anyone. I never will. And that's just the way I am. There's nothing I could say. That's my personality. I always been like that. Very outspoken. I don't hold my tongue for nobody. I got in trouble for that a lot, but in the Mafia world, I said things to people I wasn't supposed to. But I'm saying, that's just the way I was, and I'll continue to be that way.
It's funny whoever wrote that, because maybe you're the guy that, me and Gene were just out in Brooklyn last week, and about 6 people stopped us, one at a red light, and was taking a picture, and they were surprised to see us both. We just came from the beach. We had our shirts off, and then another guy stopped us on the street. We were walking in Brooklyn, and we were in Staten Island. So we got stopped a lot recently, and they asked us, and I said, listen, I'm not on that time anymore. I'm not trying to shoot people. I'm not trying to kill people. I'm trying to send a message that this life wasn't a right life. I might have did all those things before, but I'm who I am. I'm used to being stabbed up. I'm used to being battered. I'm used to jails. I'm used to all that stuff. But my message is to save kids' lives, especially from the inner cities where I grew up, and I want them to know there's a different direction they can go in. So for me to advocate that, I got to show that I'm real. By being real, I'm way out in the open, and I'm in all the neighborhoods. And I think those guys that just ran into me in the last week with Gene and pictures and see us on beaches, and we're just going to live our life the way we used to. And, we're not looking for nothing. But, on the other hand, we're no different than who we used to be. That if somebody tried that, I guess, we can revert back to who we used to be. And that's not the message to the kids. The kids are, stay away from this life and enjoy your life.
And this is from my buddy. I talk to him all the time. He's from Canada. Derek. He's a jeweler guy. He's gonna come and he wants to. I think you spoke to him as well.
Yeah.
He wants to meet us. He's a real cool guy, and I get along with him. How strong or influential are the mob today compared to its prime in the 70s to the mid 90s? That'd be you.
Prime in the 70s and the 90s. If a guy got a little bit out of line, they knew they were going to get killed or hurt real bad. I mean, we'd walk in. Those, it's my era where I would walk in. I think enough people that I had on shows that know me talked about me. If Gotti, the father, asked me to walk in, didn't matter where he asked me. If he asked me to walk into Merrill Lynch in the middle of the hallway, I would have did whatever he asked me to do.
Right.
So, I would shoot guys like that, stab guys like that, bat them like that, and guys knew that. And it was not just me. There was guys like Anthony Arellano who hit a union boss in the middle of the city. There was Carpenter that got hit outside of Bankers and Brokers, an old hit by Gotti, called that order. And actually the grandson speaks to me still. And so, it's a different era. And guys that didn't fall in line. And actually the Carpenter was a tough guy. He didn't want to cave. And I got to give him a lot of credit. He stood up, and his name is O'Connor, and he stood up. And, guys back then, if you stood up, either you're going to get killed or you're going to get hurt. But it's a different era now, so that's not what goes on.
Another one, this is more for me. What was the most dangerous, violent crew in the modern day era? So I would say right before me at the end, they all got locked up in 2008, 2009. And I'm going to have to say was the Colombo crew was Big Dino's crew. They were the most dangerous as far as my era. I mean, I think they had a total of, like 10 murders. They were killing everybody. So not to glorify that, but that's that crew as far as my generation, which involved Big Dino, Little Dino, Joey Caves, who I'm good friends with, and Tommy Shots. That crew was all taken off at about 2008-9. They were the most violent, dangerous crew. I know guys would tell me that if Big Dino sent for them and it wasn't in a public place, they wouldn't even go. So, I mean, that was one of the most violent crews as far as I knew, as far as people getting killed and everything all the time, and that was Big Dino's crew. Go on.
In my era, I got to say it was the opposite crew of me that you guys hear me give a lot of credit to and respect to the street guys like Cookie and Fabi and Frankie and Anthony Tabita and these guys. Although they were against me, these guys were dangerous, very capable. They were out there doing a ton of work. And the difference between them and me was I didn't have as many shooters as they did. These guys came with me but I was doing most of the shooting for my crew. These guys were all capable of shooting and killing, and they were all doing the work. So I would say definitely those guys, and really I like them all. So, when people say to me, well, how can you like your enemy? I said, they're not my enemy anymore, but, I'm realistic. These guys were fun to hang out with. They were gentlemen. They were, there was always in the action and partying around, and they were loyal to each other. So, I give my credit to those guys for sure.
Okay, we got two more. This is from Andy Stone. If you had a free $10,000 to invest in any stock market, what would you do?
It would probably have to be Zoom. Zoom is starting to really blow. I think it went up like 400% or something, and I'd probably dump it there. And that would probably be the choice.
My brothers, I have two older brothers, and they preach it, and they're probably going to be right. XRP, it's a big thing right now. He has me invested, and like my whole family's invested in it. So if it does hit like it's supposed to, we will be filthy rich. But yeah, it would be XRP. And the last one, where was it? Okay, who Who is the most powerful on the street today? This is from Phil from Philadelphia. Who is the most powerful on the street today? I know from my time, it's Barney from the Genovese family. You know, that's always the name that I heard when in my era. You know.
That's a rough question because guys are.
My era. Your era is, you have so many. I don't even Carmine the Snake, Gotti. I don't even know. I mean,
in my era, it's definitely
the new era would be Bonnie or like I don't even know. Bonnie. I mean, that's a real gangster. That's running a real family.
My era, it had to be Vic Amuso and the gas pipe, and there's nobody more dangerous. Those two guys,
right?
And intelligent. Vic was a very smart guy. You know, Gaspar was a little wild and nuttier, but Vic was very intelligent. I happen to like his son-in-law, Joey.
Mickey Carrazzo, he's a real powerhouse nowadays. You know what I mean? That era, he was just coming up captain. But my era, he's like God.
I mean, listen, you know, you need the intelligence along with the, you know. So I think if I had to pick an all-around guy over the years, I know Vic got life, but I'd say Vic was one of the most because he was a quiet guy. He stood in Howard Beach. He wasn't boisterous, and people didn't realize the power he wielded and how intelligent. And he had, and like I said, I just like the way he carried himself. So Vic is a name that I haven't brought up much, but he's a true gangster.
Right, and that's all. We will do this again. I'll let you know when you can send us the questions, and we'll answer them again. And that's it. Thank you for sending us the questions.
Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon on the next episode.